Welcome back, friends. I recently had the great opportunity to interview 4 candidates for the Metropolitan School District of North Posey County School Board. In this interview, I have the pleasure in speaking with Rick Nightingale, who is seeking his first term to the board. I want to thank all participants for taking time out of their day to speak with us. The interviews have been edited for sound levels only, and we will run each interview in its entirety. I hope you enjoy the interview. I know I learned a lot. All right, welcome back, friends. Today we're here with Rick Nightingale. He is a candidate for the Metropolitan School District of North Posey County. Rick, if you would, can you tell us a little bit more about yourself?
Sure, Zach. First off, I appreciate you doing this, taking the time to speak to some of the candidates. Just to give you a little bit of my background, I'm a transplant to the area. I married Anna Weatherholt, which is Susan Weatherholt's oldest daughter, that owns J.L. Hirsch Company, the grocery store in Poseyville. Anna and I have been married for almost 20 years. We've lived down here in Poseyville, or the Poseyville area, since 2012. I am 41 years old. I have 3 kids that currently attend South Terrace, and I'm the owner of Crossroads Construction, which is a remodeling and new construction residential business here in the area.
Great.
I should say also that I spent 8 years in the Air Force / Indiana and Virginia Air National Guard, depending on where we lived at the time during my enlistments.
Well, thank you for your service.
Yeah.
What got you interested in serving on the school board?
A couple of things. First and foremost, just wanting to be more involved in the education that our children in the community were getting. I'm not a teacher, so I was not going to be able to be directly involved in the curriculum per se, but making sure that education was a focus for the school district, because I am a firm believer that the primary reason that the school corporation exists is to educate our children, and everything else short of safety for the children becomes a secondary thing. My wife and I have a child with special needs, so wanting to make sure that other parents who might have children in that same situation that maybe don't have the experiences that we have or the resources that we've had throughout his since his diagnosis through this point. He's in first grade now. Wanted to be there to make sure that the rest of the board and the administration get a viewpoint from a parent who's gone through it, so to speak. We just had a meeting with the interims, or the new incoming superintendent last week, and that was one of the things that I mentioned to him, that while everyone always, I believe, has the best interests in mind, it's a completely different way of looking at things when you are a parent of a special needs child. I want to be that voice for those in the area that need that. And then secondary was just dissatisfaction with a lack of transparency from the board over the last couple of years, and really wanting to bring another transparent figure to the board.
Absolutely. What skills or experiences do you have, would you say, qualify you to serve as a school board member?
Well, obviously, I've never served in this capacity before. Excuse me. But throughout my life, my adult life for sure, I've been in a number of positions where it was going to be tasked to me to make important decisions. And I believe one of the most important things that a person who's going to sit in that position can have is an ability to have an open mind and to gather information from every source that they have available to them. One of the things from a person who's served in the Air Force, when we diagnose problems on fighter aircraft, you've got to gather information from everybody who could possibly point you in the right direction to find what the problem was with that aircraft, from the pilots to the crew chiefs, everyone who's worked on that aircraft. So that's a skill that you get very good at very quickly, or things can turn bad really, really fast, where you're making sure that you gather all the information, that you make the correct decision, the correct diagnosis in this situation, and then follow through the correct procedures to remedy the situation. But really, in my history out on the East Coast, from graduating college to the point where my wife and I moved back to Indiana, I was in charge of constructing high volume, difficult communities where every day there were problems that had to be solved and decisions that had to be made. And I think those skill sets translate to many aspects of our life. So while I don't have experience in an education setting making decisions, I have experience gathering information from multiple sources, whether that be the administration, the teachers and faculty at the individual schools, or the parents and the taxpayers of the community, to try and make a well-educated, well-informed decision.
Awesome. Great. What do you think, or what do you see as the current challenges or areas of concern facing public education in our state and, more importantly, our district, and what can we do about those?
I think from the things that I hear, obviously one of the biggest challenges we have right now is navigating the current health crisis. How do we go about continuing to safely educate our children in an in-class, in-person environment? And I think there's a number of things that we're doing well to go about that. Quite honestly, we've made it further in the school year than I think many of us thought we would, with only having one temporary shutdown. But also, from my point of view, I think we have potentially some issues in the very near future with teachers. Having the proper teachers in the proper positions. From the information that I have gathered, I think we have a number of, not so much in the elementary level, but in the upper levels, we've got teachers that are teaching subjects that isn't really their area of expertise. And we also seem to be losing teachers to other districts, whether that be moving to nearby out-of-state districts or just surrounding school districts where they can, by nature of moving into a new district, be at a higher pay than what they could get for serving well for long term in our district. So I think figuring out the challenges that we face in teacher compensation, retention, and recruiting is probably one of the greatest concerns that as a school board and as a school district we need to be looking at in the very near term. What the solution is for that, that's something that's going to have to be addressed, I think, as a group with those who understand, what options do we have for increasing teacher compensation? Because that's not as simple as, well, we're just going to take some money out of the operations budget and pay people more. When we start to get into funding from the state level, unfortunately the state government gets involved, and that becomes more difficult than just saying, well, we've got X amount of dollars and we're going to allocate it however we see fit. But I definitely think that is one of our should be one of our primary concerns in the near term.
Absolutely. Those are all very good points there. So the morning of November 4th, you wake up and you're a new Metropolitan School District of North Posey County board member. What would be your top priorities for our district to address?
One of my concerns, really ever since we have moved down here, but really being pushed to the forefront in the last couple of years, and I believe I've touched on this already, is ensuring that we have a focus on education first. There are people that I've talked to who know me well, and they joke and say that I don't like sports. That is absolutely not true. I've got football on in the TV room just outside my office where we're talking right now. I love sports. I love to watch them. I love to play them. But there's a reason they are called extracurricular activities when we talk school age, because they are not nor should they be the focus from K through 12. I think that is one of the issues that a lot of people had with the recent bond issue, that came through a couple of years ago, or year and a half ago. Many of us felt that there was far too much money that were being spent on athletic facilities and extracurricular related things, and not enough money, if we're gonna bond this and raise people's taxes, not enough of that spent towards education and safety. Certainly there was some of that there were good improvements that were made to elementary schools, to the junior high and high school, but I think the lion's share of that was not spent as effectively as it could have been. So day one for me as a new school board member, through the entire 4-year term, my focus would be on education first. What do we need? What tools do our teachers need to be able to effectively educate our children? What people do we need in the correct positions to do that? And I think that in doing so, we will see higher enrollment numbers, because people will want to have their children enrolled in the MSD of North Posey, not because we have a football team that went undefeated, or a baseball team that went to state, or girls soccer that's a championship team, but because we have a superior education. I know for myself, speaking personally, and I'm the only person I can speak for, when we have moved at different times in our life and we've looked at where we want to move to, or what school district we'd want to be in, our questions were always 100% of the time, what's your education like? Are you a 4-star school, et cetera, et cetera? And never once was it, when was the last time your team here went to state? Or how often do you get out of sectionals? Those things are great, and they are certainly something that we can strive towards. And I think that the children do pick up some valuable skills, team building skills, dedication, et cetera, by doing those extracurriculars. But they are never, nor should they be, the focus when, as adults, we are moving our school board, not our school board, but our school district in a certain direction.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. I know there's a lot of negative talk, especially in today's politics, and I want to try to bring some positive to the content I bring. So having said that, what are some of the things that you would consider some of the accomplishments our district can be proud of?
We do have 4-star elementary schools. So I guess I should say that in kind of clarifying previous statements, I don't believe that at this point we are not offering a good education to our kids. So I wouldn't want anybody hearing this podcast to think that I think that our current school board or past administrations has offered a subpar education, because I don't think that at all. Nor do I think, based on my comments about having a son who has special needs, that our school district is not offering or not accommodating for children with special needs and the parents that care for them. Because my wife and I could not be happier about the way our son has been handled and treated, and the extreme efforts that his teachers, whether that's the special education teachers, the in-classroom teachers, the principal, all the way down to the school nurse, everybody is fantastic. My concern more is looking long-term down the road, because I'm a big picture kind of person. Always looking a year, 5 years, 10 years down the road in my personal life, my business life, and consequently looking at concerns for the school district. That I see a trend. I keep hearing of, well, such and such teachers left. They went to a different school district, or they're retiring early. And I don't want us to get to a position where all of a sudden we now have issues that are going to be harder to work through because we didn't forecast them out. But I think that we do have a really good education for the kids currently. I think that there have been some good things that come out of even the last bond, which was so hotly, such a hot topic. We've got some work that was done on some of the classrooms to bring in some new equipment for the STEM classrooms. We certainly did some upgrades for safety for the kids in the elementary schools specifically. The new gyms that we recently put on give some great facilities for the kids, not only for gym class and for the after school basketball programs, but for having programs in the schools after hours. The grandparents programs, the Christmas performances, and the spring music. We were trying for the spring musical, and that didn't happen because of COVID. So I think that we are giving our kids a pretty well-rounded education currently. I just want to make sure that our focus is staying on that education, and that we don't end up losing that focus where in 2 years, 4 years, 10 years, we're in a situation where we spent too much time focusing on other things and our education has started to suffer.
Absolutely. To kind of wind things down here, I want to give you the last word here. Is there anything that we haven't covered here that you'd like to discuss or let people know more about?
I think the main thing for me is, again, transparency. I want to make sure that everyone in the MSD, and that's everyone, not parents with children that are currently going to school, because all of our taxpayers have a vested interest in the running and the operation of the school district. I want to make sure that everyone feels like the board is there, listening to them, hearing their concerns. That does not mean that every single person who has a problem is going to get an answer that's what they want to hear. Anytime you've got multiple people involved in a single operation, someone's going to be unhappy with the way a decision comes down. But I would never want people to feel like my voice wasn't heard in that decision-making process. And I think that is where in recent years we as members of the MSD have been let down. And also that those who are elected to the school board are elected to make decisions. It's really the main job that you have, is when a decision needs to be made on the direction of the district, or anything that affects the district. The elected members of the school board are the ones that make those decisions. Obviously, there are a lot of decisions that don't fall to the school board, that's made by the administration. So that I'm not saying that the school board makes every decision and that they are the end-all be-all. But when it comes time for the board to make a decision, it's important that the board is willing to make those decisions. And like I said, that's what you're elected for.
Absolutely. Well, Rick, again, I'd like to thank you for taking time out of your day to be with us, and I wish you good luck on your upcoming election.
All right. Hey, I appreciate it, Zach.